think we all love and enjoy the amazing Miss Kiera Sheard. I am honored to be here for this conversation, the value of the Black women's vote. This panel is absolutely amazing. Let's get right to it. I want to introduce everyone. We have Bishop Leah D. Daughtry, the nationally recognized organizer, activist, political strategist, and author, and faith leader. We also have the Reverend Dr. Regina Lynn Thomas with us today. She serves as the executive minister of Grant Chapel AME Church in Trenton, New Jersey. And then we have Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner. She's the CEO and founder of the Skinner Leadership Institute and co-convener of the National African American Clergy Network. Welcome, ladies.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so honored to be with you, educated political powerhouses who have been making change, who are showing us younger women the way. We are following and we are listening. I'm ready to dive in this conversation. Let's talk to Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner, if you would mind jumping in and just talk about the power of our voice in this election.
Well, Black women are the essential difference between winning and losing. We are the powerhouses at the vote. We are, however, losing our businesses. We have been affected by COVID. We are the ones, many of us, having to leave the workplace to take care of children because of the daycare crisis. So while we're essential to moving ahead to a better America, we're in crisis ourselves.
Yes.
So our vote is critical right now. Leadership is the essence. We have leadership that has kicked Black women to the back of the bus, yes, let alone in the back of the kitchen. And so if we don't vote for that leadership, we'll continue to see ourselves going backward and more and more. This election is not just essential, it's life and death for families and for Black people. And that's not hysteria, that's the fact.
Wow. Wow. I'd also like to ask you, if once the election happens, will the COVID conversation shift? Do you think there will be a change? Where do you think we will go after that? Because the election is only 2 weeks away. Well,
assuming, it was 15 days right now. Mm-hmm. Assuming we have new leadership in the White House, we have the possibility of a vaccine without us being the syphilis trial group, a safe vaccine that the scientists say is safe, okay? Oh. We have that possibility. We have the possibility of getting health care, not just for the 23 million, but increasing the affordable health care for Black women. We have the ability to work on jobs for women, so we're not the essential workers who are essentially taking all of the risk for the COVID. So in other words, when Black women come up, the whole race comes up and the whole nation comes up. That's what's at stake right now.
Bishop Leah Daughtry is with us. I see that you have your social media handle there as well. How can we bridge the gap between the younger generation who they're vocal, but I don't know that they're voting?
It's first of all, Erica, it's always good to be with you and with my clergy colleagues here. The generation gap in voting is not something new. It's something that has existed and exists through every generation. And so we've all, in every single cycle, have to do a good job, a better job of connecting with our young people and making the political process real for them. A lot of it, I think, is that younger generations, I'm talking about whether it's the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, every single generation has this problem. And I think it's a matter of them feeling connected to the process and understanding the impact, the very real impact that it has on their lives. And part of that, I think, is that we spend a lot of time talking about the presidency. Mm-hmm. And really, it's the down ballot races that have the most direct impact often on someone's lives. There's a saying that the lower on the ballot, the closer to the people's lives. Wow. So when you think about city council and what day your trash is going to get picked up, yes, trash is going to get picked up. What are the books your children are reading in school? What kind of taxes are you paying? Those things are decided in local elections, and that's probably the best entry point for new generations to really understand the direct connection of their vote to the impact on the everyday things that happen in their lives, down to where the stoplights go. And then you can, ratchet that up to the presidency. But I think people feel disconnected, and we have to do a better job in every generation of helping people understand how the process impacts them.
Yeah. Reverend Dr. Regina Lynn Thomas, my heart is broken because I just don't think we should be at this place in our country just over the fact of us saying that we matter. Why is it such a problem just to say we matter?
Erica, that's a question that I ask myself often, every day. Matter of fact, I ask God on a regular basis, why do people get upset when I say Black Lives Matter? Believe it or not, he has not given me answers, but he's given me patience to endure until hope comes. I think we are not the first generation to have to go through. I think those that came before us was told to know, whether it was Harriet Tubman or Fannie Lou Hamer. And so particularly as Black women, I think we have to continue to lean on the presence of who God is and continue to move forward in hope. Because without that hope, then there can be nothing else. And so I think we bring in all of our children. We continue to educate. We continue to be the comforters that we are. We continue to be the mentors that we are, the educators and the like. And then soon, and very soon, God will give us an answer. And as he said, biblically, he will free us.
I love it. I love it. For the women who maybe you've been in an uncomfortable situation and your voice has been muffled even in your own house, how does that woman find her voice in today's climate, in today's culture? Because while we are elevating Black women, and there are a lot of panels and a lot of conversations, if it doesn't exist in your home, it's hard to believe that your voice matters. This even is true for younger people who are not in an ideal situation. We know that during COVID, domestic abuse has gone up, people's problems, pedophilia has gone up. What do we say to let them see, if they happen to be on today, that they can use their voice and that they matter and that they're valuable, and we need their vote too? Whichever one wants to jump in.
In addition to all of the issues that my colleagues have put out, I think we have to continue to, one, be counted in census so that there are continuing funding and sort of for safe houses, there are continuing funding for assistance and help. But I think as faith leaders, we must, in this time, in these pandemics, we must continue to reach out to our congregations, because we are not confounded by the four walls of what we believe is the church. And so we have to continue to reach out to them and provide the help and the safety, but more so tell them, in order to continue to get help, that they must vote, so that there are services available that we can continue to forward to you. There are funding available. As Bishop Daughtry said, it's just not the presidency, it's the down ballot elections. And when we finish in November, we must be prepared for 2 years, because Congress is up, and other state legislators, New Jersey and Virginia, gubernatorial elections are up next year. And so we must continue and not just stop every 4 years, but continue to tell those that are going through the help's on the way. But in order to seek that help, they must reach and meet us halfway by going out and voting.
I think, as Bishop Daughtry has said so well, that there has to be a clear connection between that woman's pain and understanding leadership that even matters, that even cares about it. And I think she said it so well. Nobody cares about you unless you care about making the connection. Your voice, your vote is your voice. If you don't use that, I don't care if I'm one woman facing domestic violence, I've got to find a hotline, but I need somebody to find the hotline. I need leaders who matter about suicide hotline, or hotlines for young girls who are being trafficked. In other words, leadership casts a long shadow. These past 4 years have taught us one thing: the difference between compassion and lack of it, or cruelty, gives you either caged brown children or Black kids that nobody gets a tablet to make sure that when the schools are not in, somebody's checking their homework, making sure they're tied in even virtually to school, or not.
Yes.
Leadership is everything. And the women must understand you have power.
Yes.
And we want you to use it.
Yes.
To help women who are in struggle. A lot of people are desperate right now and depressed because they believe they're alone. And I think we're saying today, as Reverend Dr. Regina said so well, you are not alone. We care about you. God cares about you. You can call out right now and there'll be somebody on the line. One of us will stay on the line and pray with that woman. Okay. So she is not alone. And we want her to know that. We love her and we care about her. She's not by herself.
I love it. I love it. Bishop Leah, we had a younger panel on just a little bit earlier, and I love that they were speaking some of the same sentiments about using our voices and understanding our power and voting up and down the ballot, and not just the White House, but in our local elections and what happens in our schools and even the type of grocery stores that we have. Just please share with the younger woman who needs to vote, what does she need to hear and understand about the value of her voice? We've heard it many times. If your vote wasn't valuable, they wouldn't be trying to suppress it. Listen, I was purged. I actually had to re-register. Me and my husband went looking for our polling place and we were nowhere. They said, you're not registered. I'm going, this is crazy. So I was purged from the ballot. For the young woman who doesn't understand that, that's why they're trying to take your voice and your vote, because it means so much and it has so much power, not for you, but just for your community.
Mm-hmm. You've said it all right there, Erica. This is about your voice, your personhood, your own agency, and the value that you place on your own opinion. Just like I go on Instagram and I see all the sisters with these great photographs and selfies and, you know, this way and that way, and the hair and the, you know, everything is they snatched in the face and all of that. And why are you doing that? You're doing that because you want to put yourself out there. You want people to know who you are. You want people to know what your opinion is about things. We post about everything. Cardi B and Offset, and who had a good church service last night, and what the latest. We post about everything because we want to share our opinions, because we think our opinions matter. It's just another way for you to express your opinion in the public square and to say what matters to me. I care about this. I think about this. I care about where my children go to school. I care about whether there's fresh vegetables in the grocery. I care about whether I can get healthcare, and I want the world to know what I think. And so therefore, I'm going to vote. Yes. That's all it is. Your vote is your voice. Yes. It's the same as going on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and posting an opinion. You just posting your opinion in the voting booth.
I love that. I love that. So many of us are brokenhearted when we watch the news. You can be so confused watching the news. You turn to one channel, they say one thing, you say another channel, they say something else. How do we sort through the messages and the chaos and just the lies, basically? How do we sort through all these things that we're seeing? I think sometimes people just say, forget it, I'm gonna turn the TV off, which means sometimes you can be uninformed. Where can we find information? What do we look to be properly informed, to not just vote for the president, but up and down the ballot, and not be swayed by the distractions sometimes of news and media? When you see people saying, I'm supporting this and I'm holding my vote and I have this plan, and now we got a rapper on the back. Like, it's so much for people to be confused. How do we sort through and get to the truth?
I personally like Roland Martin because he is one of us. He's in the news. He's a professional. He gets it all. And then he has us on the show. Two is that there are only 3 or 4 news items every day. The rest is commentary. You need to get in that Bible, get God's opinion about justice and righteousness, and then compare what you're seeing with that. Some point you got to turn it off. Some of us are on a 25 days of a 40-day fast right now, myself, and 700 people have joined us at turnoutsunday.com, where they've got the Reverend Zena Pierre's incredible prayer guide with a scripture every day about empowering yourself, about your voice, about the enemy that you have under your footstool. I mean, we gotta hear other righteous voices, and that you listen to that. It will make you think you are nothing. You have nothing of value to give. Turn it on, find out what's going on in the world, and then check in with some Black news. And then after that, turn on Radio 1 or whatever. And then after that, go try God and find out what God is saying. Okay.
And let me add here, Erica.
Yes, please.
Find trusted news sources. There's a lot of people out there with an opinion. Here is where Google is your friend. If you have a commentator and you Google them and you can't find nothing more than a year old, no, that's not your source. You want to find somebody who has been doing this, who has been researching and studying, who ain't new to it. They true to it, like a Roland Martin, like a April Ryan, like a Yamiche Alcindor. You want to find someone who has spent their life, who has invested their time in researching these issues. Those are trusted sources, not on, y'all know what I mean. The people who just got here, they don't know what they're talking about, where they've been. We don't know. I could preach a whole sermon on Nehemiah and Sanballat. I'm not going to do that. But these people who just got here, I don't care if they're good at doing hair. I don't care if they're good at rapping. I don't care if they're the best nails technician on the block. That's not your source for hard news information.
Right.
And as a labor leader, definitely AFT.org, American Federation of Teachers, CBTU, Coalition of Black Trade Unions, APRI, A. Philip Randolph Institute, NAN, National Action Network, NAACP, who is sponsoring this forum, the Rightful Coordination. They are organizations that have been in our community, that have stood there with us from the very beginning. And I don't know why we would forsake them for other folks' opinions.
Yes.
And so look for those sources. And every now and then, young people ought to turn to their grandmama Nim.
I know that.
So that their grandmama Nim can tell them what they went through and how they got over. That there is hope, child. And the reason that you're sitting here doing all of this is me and your grandmama Nim, aunties and aunties struggled that you could get here. So don't forget, child, where you have come from. And so you ain't got to look too far. Just call your grandmama Nim in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, or next door, or in the same household with you, and you can get some real news. And you can get the fact that, you know, this ain't new. That we knew this was going to happen. So now let's put our faith in God, and let's put our feet in the streets, and let's continue to do what we've been doing for a long time, baby. And that's what
I love it. And I love at the bottom of the screen, you can go to iwillvote.com. You can visit NAACP.org. And there's so many organizations where the truth is there. And I love that you said that. And it's never to minimize anyone that's new to it. But if you don't have enough of the information, then your information is going to be skewed wrongly. And so you have to make sure I love conversations that are bridges from then and now, bridges to the young and the old, because we need your wisdom. We need your experience, because sometimes there can be something that we miss, because marketing is real. And sometimes they're marketing and pandering to a younger audience and leaving out a specific bit of truth that will really help you make an educated decision when it comes to voting. You guys are all very, very amazing women. And I believe we have a little more time. There is a line that has been drawn in the sand between Black and white America, between both sides of the aisle. We understand and know that. I mean, there are families that have been separated. I had a caller on my radio show that said she didn't know that her white grandfather was racist until Black Lives Matter was painted in front of the White House. And she said her heart was broken. What do you say to someone that their Christian brothers and sisters are now saying, you are not Christian if you don't vote this way? It's almost sinful to say that God needs a vote in order to say I can get into heaven or not. But what do you say? Bishop, let's start with you.
You know, this is a challenge that I think those of us who follow politics and have invested our lives here, always face this question. And what I try to say to people is, I don't do this, and I don't think any of us do this because we just love politics, because it makes our lives go. But I engage because I believe it is a mandate that is consistent with my Christian values. God has said that we are due, and he has promised us abundant, rich, fulfilling lives.
Yes.
So we can pray on it. We can have all-night prayer on Pentecostal. We love an all-night prayer.
Yes.
We can do all of that. Or we can pray with our feet.
Yes.
which means put action to the prayer and use the systems that are in place, the systems that decide the kind of food we have, whether we have clean air, clean water, whether our children are safe, whether the schools are safe. Though there are governmental systems that decide that. And so I bring all of myself, and including my Holy Ghost, to say, I want the system to align with kingdom values, and I'm going to vote according to kingdom values. What does the word of God say about how we love and care for each other? And then which legislative policy and which candidate gets me closest? It's not going to be perfect because Jesus is not on the ballot.
Amen.
But Jesus's values are. So who aligns closest? Closest is not perfect because none of us are perfect. None of us align perfectly. But there are some things, someone, some candidate that is going to help me help my brother and sister to live the full and abundant life that God promised to us.
Yeah, and Jesus, you know, nobody speaks for God. God speaks for God. So the idea that one party has a hold on two issues and that makes you righteous, but you can be unjust. You could avoid 2,000 verses of scriptures on God's concern for the poor. You will be judged one day for that. Okay. And then maybe the other party does need to get it right with God. Yes. Great injustice. So I think Bishop is right that you have to have your own counsel with God about, I can vote my convictions, my moral, biblically based conviction, but I can vote for social justice at the same time. Absolutely. Nobody can tell me how to vote. I got to go in my closet and say, and I got to go research these candidates. Not what they say. The reason you want to vote for a district attorney is because you want to know who is going to let police off when they shoot us in the back and who's going to bring them to justice. You want to vote for school boards to make which kids are going to be able to get that tablet and that extra care and that tutoring in the rural area and the inner city area. In other words, we got to understand that we got to vote for our convictions, our core values, our moral values, but we can vote for justice at the same time. It's being an intelligent voter. That's what you are. Become an intelligent voter. Know who's on the ballot. Don't go by any, meeny, miny, mo. There's 7 judges. Vote for 5. You haven't. What do you do? All the women's names? Right. You gotta check out their record. It's all on Google. You can get it.
Absolutely.
And if I could just press a little further on what Barbara said, justice is a God value.
That's right.
It's not a separate thing. It is the same thing.
That's right.
So your moral convictions will lead you to the God of justice. Or they should.
They should.
I can't add more than my 2 sisters have said. I agree.
This is absolutely amazing. And I thank you all. I want to talk a bit about economics because economics is on the ballot, what we get and funding that we get in our cities. If you had a dream, if you had a prayer for the economics in our urban cities, what would it be?
It would be a Marshall Plan. That's literally, we remade Europe after the war. We decided after COVID to put trillions, not billions, trillions into the hands of Americans who were immediately out of work earlier this same year. We have the money if we have the will. Reparations has got to come up on somebody's lips soon. 401 years is enough time to say, okay, we made America, now pay us. It's not a dirty word. It's time to do that. Nobody works for free.
Absolutely.
So the idea right now is that we need an urban Marshall Plan. It has to include entrepreneurship. That's what gets young people. Young people want to talk about small business development. Young women want to talk about that, as well as school, healthcare, and the like. But at some point, we got to talk about reparations.
Absolutely.
I think it's important. I served as Secretary of State of the great state of New Jersey from 2002 to 2006. And oftentimes we had to make decisions between 2 rights. And don't let it snow and have to use the excess budget to make sure that I-95, New Jersey Turnpike, and the like was covered. And so that's the value of voting. Vote your conscience. Vote someone who, when it comes down to voting between a senior citizen and living their last days out and a young person who is just coming into the world trying to find their way, and there's only $1 to do it, you vote that person that has that value, that can take $1 and do what our grandmama and them do and make it spread. Don't go out to chitlins, you know, just let's use them. And so I think the economics of this, the importance of this is still vote those persons that when the rubber meets the road will make the decision to do, as Barbara says, to make the decisions about the schools, to make the decisions about hospitals and healthcare, and the like. And I'm telling you, then that is it, because I found myself all too often for 4 years, at least 3 of the 4, making decisions between 2 rights. And because God pressed upon me, I had to first ask him, and then I had to sit down and negotiate way out of stuff. And so I had to negotiate with like-minded people in order to make a decision when move forward. Are those sensitive that, well, hold on. Let me paint this picture for you. These are real people out there.
Yes.
Newark is not the only place. Let me show you some poor white folk that's in rural America that is sitting in these farms in these cities. Everything cannot be painted by the negative that you perceive to be, in fact, in the city of Newark or the city of Camden or Atlantic City. And so that's the economics. The economics must be in a value of moving forward to look at the least of them and the multitudes at the same time.
Yes.
Last thing I would add, just to put a little more on what Dr. Barbara and Dr. Regina has said, in any of the economic plans, we must consider technology.
Yes.
Absolutely. The fact of the matter is that half of the world has no access to internet. Half of the world. So those of us who walk with phones, and we're part of the privileged few who can actually connect. And what this pandemic has exposed is the inequities that exist in the Black and brown communities, including in rural areas where our children don't have the capacity to connect, and so therefore are disconnected from the educational system, which is going to leave them behind. Any economic justice must include equal access and equity to the technology systems that are going to make the world go in the future. If you don't have access, you could never catch up. If you don't know how to use the internet and you can't get online, you will never be part of the 21st century economy. And that's going to be a critical part to us having equity in our communities.
Wow. Oh, let me just take a deep breath and say thank you. It has been a privilege and an honor to sit and to moderate this panel. I feel empowered. I feel seen as you women have literally laid it on the line. Nobody should be confused after this conversation, whether it was the previous panel or this one. I honor you and I thank you all, Bishop Leah Daughtry, Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner, and Reverend Dr. Regina Thomas. Thank you so much for your work, for what you do in politics and in the world of faith. We appreciate you greatly. And now I am turning it over to Dr. Gina Stewart, who will pray us out. And make sure that you are going to the NAACP.org to get all the information. Make sure you vote, be educated, and be a part of this process. This is crucial. We've never seen a time like this in our world, and we need everybody to be a part of this election. Thank you so much, ladies.